Greetings and salutations, all you beautiful individuals. It is yet another episode of We Got Locked. My name's Eric, flying on that Han Solo Millennium Falcon today for some marquee matchups in both the LCK and LPL, and maybe not shocking results, but if you thought, remember that clip of Siwoo getting a 1v4 on a Lowy against Hanwha Life? DK gets the upset in those somewhat meaningful scrims that are the EWC qualifiers. Well, it seems like HLE might have taken that a teensy tiny bit personally, as game one action between these two featured a lot of visits to the top lane, as Irelia turns out is not Illaoi, as we had a rare 0 and 10 sighting for Siwoo on the Irelia. Yeah, he got 3 assists, so let's put some respect on his name, but absolutely turbo focused and turbo gapped in the top lane at the 0 and 10, and he kept trying to find plays even though he was down so much gold. Smash up the complete opposite was actually so fed on the Ashe in this game that it made it a competitive game, combined with one of the more insane Seraphine engages out of career that we have seen. There was a Zyra mid sighting that had negligible impact on this series, and the result is a 2-0 on the way of Hanwha Life, despite there being some pushback and again angles where D Plus did get back into a game when they were at a huge deficit. The 0 and 10 Irelia, an absolutely immovable object that was Zeus's Scion, ended up being a little bit too much out of them, and it was even quicker, more of a dismantling in game 2, where Hanwha never really looked back. But at least there were angles, moments you thought maybe DK can put something together heading towards these playoffs, maybe stop this slide and slump by getting a big win against an only single series loss Hanwha Life. No, was not meant to be. Zeka, had a fine series again. This Zyra was completely, I'm not going to say useless, but just minimally impactful. But the real story is whenever somebody goes 0 and 10 in a matchup, it leaves you scratching your head a little bit. And I know there's all this, memeing about CV Max and his harsh criticism to D Plus as a whole, and then Siwoo specifically, and I shudder at the fact of what is going to happen after this series, because again, my man just kept going for plays, 1v2s. I know a lot of the time it was out of desperation and he was pretty cooked anyways, but respect. The Irelia mentality is absolutely seemingly the new Yasuo 0 and 6 power spike, but we got to 0 and 10 and still did not quite see that power spike come to fruition for Siwoo and the D plus Kia boys. So we salute them for trying with some spicy picks, but absolutely Hanwha Life dismantling them on the day. That was, at least had some close moments. It was legitimate bullying on the Rift in what was supposed to be the big LPL matchup, Top Esports versus Billy Gaming, and no question, Knight is leading the way in terms of MVP in the LPL, probably the best player on the planet right now. So when you let him have LeBlanc and give him a triple kill early, well, you have BLG having a basically, 3K gold lead at like 5 minutes into this first Top Esports game. There was a comedy of misplays out of TES in this one, and this was very much BLG playing with their food a little bit, as we are talking 39 BLG kills in 31 minutes. Knight finished the game 17, 3, and 11. 32 assists for On. This was just farming kills, farming KDA out of BLG in this first game at the very least, even though maybe they overstepped, got a little bit too hypey, and took a little longer to close out than normal. But this was a classic LPL fiesta. We got people flashing outside of their own base. Cream was trying his best on the Cassiopeia, but his best was not good enough on the day. And that first game went so well for BLG that they said, okay, well, now we can take the scrim approach, maybe practice some picks. We know Knight is incredibly comfortable, one of the best LeBlanc players in the world. So let's give him an opportunity to practice more control mage centric, because we know assassins are Knight's bread and butter. So we'll throw him on the Articuno, the Anivia in the mid lane, who is such a staple in the meta right now. And he looked a little less comfortable on that one. And as a result, no 1v9 performance out of Knight means the game is much closer. Top Esports had a nice little Baron to get back into this game. I think they were down 6k at one point. They got it to an even gold state, but Bin and Viper still were the ones to level up on the day. Viper had actually picked up MVP in the second game, only his third of the entire split, and Bin had his way with Jueon in pretty much both games, but especially the Gnar one, and Viper kind of just danced all over Top Esports, as it's another matchup with one of these main rivals. I'm putting massive air quotes on that one for BLG, and it was really no test or problem at all for BLG. Again, even with Knight not having an elite second game, but very big distance between both Top Esports and BLG, and then DK and obviously Humble Life, who now moved to 12-1, only a meager 11-2 for BLG, as two of the top three squads from our global power rankings take care of business as usual. Humble Life, still very clearly the best team in the LCK. BLG is going to have AL on the weekend to wrap up their regular season. And let me tell you, if they come away with a pretty convincing 2-0 there, or even just a convincing 3-game series, whatever it is, I'm scared for everybody else in playoffs in the LPL. We do have big matchups in the LCK as well over the weekend. We're talking Gen GT1 El Clasico in the LCK, and Hanwha Life's second match is also against KT Rolster, who bounced back with a dominant, slow-paced, methodical 3-game series win against KRX. I'm, of course, being facetious there. They struggled to even beat them, so I do not have high hopes for them against Hanwha Life, but Gen GT1, that should be a fun one, and we get another BFX versus Nongshim rematch, Diablo versus his former squad, so lots of nice stuff to look at in the LCK over the weekend, and it's the finale of the LCS regular season as well. No LEC, they got it off for playoffs, but we're still slowly starting to ramp things up and see, or ramp things down in the regular season at least, as we gear up for that playoff push. So enjoy the wonderful weekend of games. We'll be back to recap some of the action, do some rankings heading towards playoffs, but that is it today for League Unlocked. My name is Eric. Thank you to all you stunners for supporting and hanging out as always, and we'll catch you on that flippity flip.